I want to just skip over for a minute to Diddy. I want to again another thing that I looked at it and I say, how did the government flub this deal? You know, I said from day one it wasn't a RICO case. There was no question in my mind. The jury, you know, obviously they got it because the government thinks that they're so credible. They're just not credible anymore. Juries are even questioning everything. It wasn't like it was 30, 40, 50 years ago where they snap their fingers and get a conviction at trial. But this whole Diddy thing stinks too. It just stinks.
Absolutely. Diddy, a lot of underage girls and a lot of underage girls. There were 5 lawsuits that were filed against him, 5 civil lawsuits that were filed against him. And then the grand jury indicted him on racketeering and some other human trafficking and some other things. And the guy who was the U.S. attorney that oversaw that grand jury, he also oversaw Ghislaine Maxwell's trial.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Damian Williams. And as you know, the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York is probably the most powerful federal law enforcement person in
the country,
in New York City. So Damian Williams comes out of nowhere. Well, actually, he's part of the Clinton machine. And then he gets, he carefully choreographs Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. And then he oversees the Diddy grand jury. And you know that grand juries are quite easy to manipulate. And so as soon as I saw that Damian Williams was involved in Diddy, actually on May 1st, 2024, I wrote an article that said, P. Diddy, the fix is in. And then there was a picture of Damian Williams.
Wow.
And there's going to be a lot of civil lawsuits that are going to be launched at Diddy. And there's probably going to be a fund that's set up like the Epstein Victims Compensation Program. There's going to be a fund set up for Diddy's victims, I would assume. With Diddy, to only charge him on 2 counts of the Mann Act, I mean, and the Mann Act is taking someone across state lines for immoral purposes.
Right.
To only, with all his drug abuse and drug dealing and child trafficking and human trafficking, to only indict him on 2 counts of the Mann Act. I mean, I have never seen federal prosecutors work so hard to throw a case. I mean, they really had to work very hard to do this because there was so much evidence. There's a number of, at this point, there's a number of civil lawsuits against Diddy, and a lot of them were filed by people that were minors when they were by Diddy, or Diddy pandered them to his friends. So for him to not be indicted on a single count of child trafficking is really horrible. And that was a blackmail operation too.
Yeah. Has to be.
Well,
no doubt about it. What do you think of the coincidence that Comey's daughter was one of the prosecutors?
Well, you had Damian Williams. Comey's daughter was one of the prosecutors of Maxwell. And she was also one of the prosecutors of Diddy. So yeah. I think there's some issues in that family as far as moral, let's call it moral turpitude.
Well, listen, I was never a fan of James Comey, our esteemed, that's a joke, obviously, former FBI director. I was never a fan of his going back to his days, in New York. But this whole thing it just stinks so bad, Nick. It really is. And again, people can keep putting pressure, but it's like everything else. I don't think we'll ever get the truth about JFK, about RFK. They give us what they want us to hear. They'll weather the storm. They'll figure out people will forget. It'll be business as usual. We'll distract them with something else, and then life goes on. But this is one issue that, man, if people aren't somewhat held accountable. And I think right now, the answer is Ghislaine Maxwell, but I don't have any faith in whatever deal they're going to make with her because she wants to get out of jail. So they'll probably make some kind of deal with her to get out and keep quiet, or I don't know.
If our government makes a deal with Ghislaine Maxwell, it will be truly abhorrent. Truly abhorrent. And
Would you put it past them?
no, unfortunately, I would not.
Right.
But as you know, I started an organization called Epstein Justice, and we want two basic things. We want the government to tell us why it has aided and abetted child trafficking, and we want the perpetrators that molested all these little girls to be prosecuted. You would think that would be, kind of baseline ethics, but we're going to have to fight for it. But we're growing. We're growing. And Thomas Massey endorsed us today. So we're making strides. And we have webinars every month where we equip people with the tools to put pressure on their legislators. And those webinars are growing and growing. And that's really good to see. I'm going to fight with every ounce of my being to make sure that this isn't covered up. And because this has to stop. I've known other networks that were covered up by the government. And I really believe that this is an evil that our government shouldn't even be involved in.
My friends, if you enjoyed this video, I'm going to give you an opportunity to become my partner in business. Franzese Wine experiencing tremendous growth over the past couple of years, and we're going to experience even further growth in the next few years. You're going to have an opportunity to be my partner because you've been supporting me, you've been my fan base, and I want to share this with you. So go to invest.franzesewine.com, and offer you shouldn't refuse.